Hey there, YouTube. Doc's Motorcycle Service. Rawr, 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 rawr. Welcome back to the shop. YouTube, you ain't gonna believe this, but right here is where we are in the real world. And it's taken us this long to get this far. And we're doing good. This is boxes, switches, and wires. Part 3, and in this video we're going to tie it up. I mentioned before that some of the problems that we had run into was being able to find what we wanted. You know, we wanted to do the little bar area down here. We wanted some bar lights in there. We wanted some strips up there so we could put the neon lights up in that area. We wanted some exterior lights that would kind of make the shop look old-timey. It's just the way I am. Sort of gas station lights, if you will. And you'll see them here in a little bit. But we had some challenges with that. And we had some other challenges that we had to overcome. But we got through them. You know, don't be afraid to reach out to people and get people's thoughts. And what might seem impossible in one area, you can link other stuff to make it work. We're going to get our lights up on the exterior. We're going to get some more wires and cables pulled. We got most of the outlets closed up and everything done there. So this is just the last little bit before we can call the electrical good. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at those pictures. Okay, so this was the wall opposite of the roll down door that we knew that we wanted to have a motion light on. And we talked about that before in the previous video. We wanted to put a lean-to on this end of the building. Something to put the mower under, something to put the gator under, something to put the old truck under that, you know, had a roof on it but was open on all sides so we could get the stuff quickly. You know, maybe if we're working outside on a project and we don't want to work in the rain, we got a covered shelter to work. And we also decided to go ahead and put a outlet there. But the problem was looking at the picture here, and I'm going to try to explain this. I don't know if I'll be able to explain it or not. Let me use the picture behind me. If you can see this metal rail running back here to the corner, it runs all the way up here to the corner, and that is the baseline corner for the exterior wall. That is where we would attach the bracket or wood to the outside wall. Say this is the outside wall here. Here's the roof of the lean-to. It has to have something to attach to. If not, it'll just fall off. So that bracket right there is the bracket that we plan to attach the outside beam to on the wall, sort of like this. If you can see this, imagine this lighter is the beam that we're going to attach to that wall to have the roof of the lean-to lay on. So then we can then screw the roof into something to keep it on the wall. Okay, so with that in mind, we had to be very careful about where, and you can see it right there. And forgive me, I'm doing things backwards. This is the actual outlet, the power box for the exterior motion light that's on the outside. So we couldn't put that above that beam. If we did, the light would be above the roof and be useless. And if we put it too close to that beam, then it would interfere with the outside beam. So we had to be kind of a planning tip here. Look at this stuff through before you start poking holes in it, because most of your lights go through the wall and then come up. Most of them don't come out and go down, or they come straight out. So we wanted to have enough room between that outlet and that beam so it wouldn't interfere. So once we got that figured out, we'll go back to the picture here. We decided to go ahead and put in well, you can see it there in the picture, a 2x4 beam, because there was nothing in that area to attach that to. The electrician came up with this idea. I mean, again, I tell you, you pay for what you get. And I've said it before, don't put $12, $13, $14, $15, $20,000 into a building and then hire a $10 an hour electrician. You're going to be sorry. But he's like, hey man, just run a 2x4 across there with a couple L brackets. And that's what we did, and I'll show you what an L bracket is. And basically what we did was we created a mounting point for that box. Because I said before, these exterior lights, and probably even the ones on your house, depending on the siding, they don't attach to the side of the house. They attach to that box. And I'll kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about here in a little bit when we get to the fan. So we used a 2x4 and a couple L brackets, ran some more cable for the box on this wire, and there's an L bracket. Now this is the L bracket, the same L bracket that I used on the workbench that we'll talk about in a later video. But they call it an L bracket because it looks like an L. Loser. And what you're seeing here is the part of the bracket that attaches to the wall support. And the other piece you cannot see because it's attached to the bottom of the 2x4. Here is a picture of the exterior light that we used. As you can see, if I can zoom in on it there, how the round part that goes, that looks like it's attaching to the building, is actually attaching to that box. And if you'll look back at the picture, you'll see that the lights themselves sit about 4 to 5 inches above that box. Okay, so now looking back at the picture over here, you can see what I'm talking about. Those lights on the outside, the part that actually shines, the globes, are up there about where that 2x4 is. So had we put it a little bit more higher, they would have been in the way of the bracket or brace that we're going to put on the outside. I'm telling you, man, have patience, plan this stuff and think about it before you start popping holes in the walls. Is the exterior outlet. You're not always going to do everything in the shop, you know. You might want to sit outside and well, on the outside of this wall we got the gator where the lean-to is going to go. And there's no cover on it right now, but it's sitting there charging. You know, you don't want a cord running under. You don't want a cord running under a door. That's pinching electricity, and I don't deal with that. So, you know, think about it and see if you want an exterior plug-in and take care of that. Planning tip, tech tip. You'll notice on the wall that we don't have the final wood on the wall. And what we did is we mocked it up. We put some of the neons up just to get a feel for where we wanted the plug strips at. Our memorabilia case, a couple of our flags and stuff like that. So we would know where we wanted this stuff to go eventually. And the plug strips, you might be able to see them here in a later picture, but they mounted kind of funny. They had a bracket. They had a bracket kind of like this. That had 2 screws that went into the wall, and these were flexible, and you basically took the strip and you pushed it into it and it snapped into it and held it there. And unfortunately I didn't like where those were going to snap together based off where we had the power supply and where we wanted the power strip. So we just mocked up a, I don't know, maybe a 3-inch by 1/2 inch pine slat here. And a little tech tip here, you'll notice these orange clamps. These orange clamps are wonderful if you're working by yourself, because what you can do is, especially with that one up there, because that one's above my head, I use these clamps the same way as I did in the picture here. I took that board, I measured it, I cut it, I put the L brackets, attached them to the board on the bottom side, and then I took these orange clamps and I basically walked that board up. I walked up, put a clamp here, set the board on it, pick this end up, move the clamp, pick this end up, move the clamp, and worked it up the wall until I got it where I needed it. Again, tech tip, if you're working by yourself, work smarter, not harder. And then throw the level on it to figure out where it needed to be at. And then I got it mounted to the wall. We got this ceiling fan up here, and I wanted to do something special with the ceiling fan. I don't know if you've seen this video on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or what have you, but there's an old boy out there who took a motorcycle gas tank and he began cutting on it and tapping on it and beating on it and welding on it and turned it into a helicopter and put it to the bottom of a ceiling fan, and it looked awesome, and I wanted one. We'll get to that in a minute. So in the previous video I showed you the box and how we used so many different types of boxes in this building to attach stuff. This is the box that the ceiling fan is attached to. You can't really see the top of it in the picture, and even if you could, it has a black cover over it. But YouTube, this ceiling fan was heavy, and the black part here is the piece that actually mounts the fan mount, or the black piece is the piece that this long shaft hangs in to drop the ceiling fan to a different height. What we did was we used zip ties around this box again. I'm gonna tell you, I'm a big fan of zip ties here. If they didn't call me Doc, they'd either call me duct tape or zip tie. But that fan was so heavy, and these screws, I put 4 screws into this thing, but YouTube, I just didn't trust it. So I went ahead and put some high stencil zip ties on it just to make sure that it was going to stay there. This is me putting that fan together, and it was heavy. I'm going to tell you, each blade had 3 bolts in it. And let me tell you something, this fan is big, and I wanted it big, and I had to pay extra money to get it big, and you'll see why here in a minute. That is a helicopter that belonged to our kids that they played with when they were 6 or 7 years old. And I found it while we were moving, and it went into storage. And then I found that video for that boy on TikTok, and I said, I'm gonna make me one of them fans. And then a little something different that I wanted in the garage, and it's gonna look pretty good. We used this in another video, and this is what she looks like right now. Well, actually, that's what she looked like then, with nothing on the wall. Let's go ahead and kill the overheads and see what it looks like now. Doesn't look too bad, does it, YouTube? Let's see what it looks like with the bar lights on. Not too bad. Now in the beginning we only had the one set of lights up. Now we got both sets up, and it looks pretty good in here. I like it. I mean, it's sort of going to set the mood. If you know, the theory here is we can come out here, and if we don't want to do nothing but watch a baseball game or football game or a movie or just hang out in the bar, we can just have the bar lit up and not necessarily worry about having the bays lit up. Make sense? The exterior lights, you'll see them here in this picture. YouTube, these things kind of presented a problem, and I'm going to try to show it to you in a way if I can. But looking at this picture, you're going to see the base of the light right under Linda's hand, and you're going to see Linda's pointer finger pointing to the edge of the corrugated, the raised part of the exterior metal. Now I want you to look to your right, and you're going to see 2 small raised areas. You're going to see another corrugated area, and then you're going to see the trim for the roll-up door. We are on the left side of the roll-up door as you look at it. In this picture, we're on the right side of the roll-up door. And you'll notice that Linda's finger is on the inside edge of the corrugated. Looking back at the other side, you'll see it's on the outside. This one's on the inside. Now if you'll look behind Linda's wrist, you'll see that raised area that you see in this picture that's closest to the door trim. I mean, it's almost right on the tan door trim. But in this picture, there is only, it's maybe 4 inches off of the door trim. And that's just the way these buildings come. I mean, you can tell them when you order them that you want the garage door, the roll-up door, dead in the corner. And that's where the machine will make it. You can tell them you want it 2 foot 2 inches off of the corner. And that's where the machine will make it. So what we had to do here, and if you've not figured it out by now, those lights are not the exact same distance from the outside edges of the trim, but they're pretty close. And looking at the picture, I wanted to do this because that raised area right there at Linda's finger, I didn't want to cut into that. I didn't want to, because I didn't feel like no amount of caulking would seal the base of the lamp against the wall with that raised area on it. So we sacrificed a little bit, and it must have took us an hour, maybe an hour and a half to figure out exactly where we wanted these things. So they're not dead nut center, but there's maybe only an inch difference in them, and the only people that's ever going to notice it is me. Linda don't care because nobody notices and nobody pays attention to that. So after we figured out where we wanted the lights at, and again, this is the type of hole that you've got to put in there. Again, well, if you look at this picture right here, you will see 2 screw holes in the box poking through the wall. YouTube tech tip: these boxes, they're either square or they're octagon or hexagon, and you put a face on it. The face might be a faceplate that holds 4 outlets. The faceplate might be a faceplate that holds 4 switches. The faceplate might hold an attachment like the ceiling fan light. Or it may have a faceplate on it like this that's round, designed to go through a round hole with 2 mounting screws on it. And your lamps only attached by 2 screws. And they attach to that faceplate that attaches to that box, that attaches to a 2x4 or a wall bracket over here, and that's all that's holding those lights up. These exterior lights were heavy, so make sure that you, anytime you're working on these things, make sure that you mount them properly. So now that we know where we want the exterior lights, there came the next challenge. Looking at this picture right here, standing on the inside, looking at the inside of the roll down door, you will notice the panel just to the right of the roll down door. Right here is where we planned to have that right hand side looking out, left hand side looking in, exterior heavy lamp on the wall. Well, you've probably picked up on it by now because you guys are pretty smart out there. There's nothing to attach the box to. So the easy fix, put up another 2x4 bracket like this, and we did that. But herein lies the problem. If you'll notice, the beam right here above the garage door, that beam is not over here. But if you look to the left side of the garage door, it is there as we zoom in. See it right there? See how thick it is? Now go back and look over here and look at the one above the garage door. It's not the same thickness. It's thicker. That's because on that side, in that corner, they had to put an extra support beam in to keep the building rigid. Alright. So this picture right here on the left side of the garage door is the height standard for where we were going to put the light at, because we're certainly not going to cut into that to put a light in there. And what we did was, on the left side of the door, we basically measured from the floor up to the bottom of that beam, and then we came to the right hand side of the door and we measured up and marked it, and that's where the bottom of the 2x4 brace went. That is where we put this brace right here. Now this is a pretty good picture here for several reasons. One, we had to use L brackets, and you can't really see it here, but there's L brackets on the bottom of the 2x4, one on each side, and there's L brackets on the top of the 2x4, one on each side. Remember, with this light over here, it was hanging, and it was a very small plastic light. You'll see the AC duct tape there, that silver duct tape on the left side. We basically went cut, and then we peeled that down to give us access to the metal there to drill into it. And when we were done, we just folded that insulation back up and put some of this tape on it to keep it in place. And now we're at the same height as the beam on the left hand side. So we went in over here. This is where we knew we were going to need to put our box, and we did the same thing on that side. We just cut down, made a 3-sided cut, peeled it back, put the box on. What I was talking about, or try to. But if you look at this light here, you'll see that it's up against the outside edge of this corrugated, and then it comes over and there's a bump and the corrugated up against this. You'll notice that it's on the inside edge of this one, bump, corrugated, bump. How far this piece of corrugated is off of the trim. Over here, it's right up against it. But at the end of the day, it's really not worth arguing about, and nobody's ever going to notice the difference in them. And they turned out pretty good. And there's what the motion light looked like outside. Now, what you can't see is right here under the flag is an on and off switch. I didn't want a light that I couldn't control, because there might come a time when I want to turn that light off. This is the building lit up at night. I think it looks fabulous. And here's what she looks like during the day. Get a little zoom in picture here. This is the lights that we put up. And then this is a smaller version of the light that we put over by the man door. And you'll notice that we put a storm door up too. And the storm door was nice. We felt like, you know, during spring and fall, there would be a time, and maybe even during the summer, that we would want to get a breeze going through here. And there might come a time when, you know, we wanted to leave a door open to have some cool air in here, but we didn't want to come in here and find snakes and critters and skunks and stuff like that in the building waiting for us to come out the next morning. So we decided to go ahead and put a storm door up. And the storm door is white. I just ain't got around to painting it yet. I mean, it's aluminum. I'm going to paint it just like I did in the roll down door. And if you haven't seen that little video, take a look at this one here. But if you've been keeping up with the series, you'll see it there. Now, the last thing that I'm going to mention to you is in a previous video we talked about not rushing throwing up a light at the door, because we did. We rushed that motion light at the man door to get us through the inspections. And I alluded to how close that light was to the door after we actually put up the light we wanted there. So Tech Tip, we're going to take a look at this, but Tech Tip, don't rush this, all right? Because it almost messed us up. And I'm going to show you that now. So this is at the walk-in door, and this again is what I'm telling you about the base. You can see how close this base came to the trim here, because it was a larger base than the other light that we had. And here are the globes. This is what I was telling you about, the old-timey look that we wanted to go with. I think these are 11-inch lights, and those over there are 13-inch lights. But if you stand right here and you look at it just right, like I'm looking at it down this side here, you can see that that thing nearly lines up right here. And when we open the door, we got just a little bit of clearance right there. Okay. Well, YouTube, there you go. She's buttoned up and the electrical is done. So, trying to think if there's anything I need to share with you that I didn't share with you in the video. Just plan your work and work your plan, and don't worry about being don't worry about overthinking it. I mean, there comes a point when you overthink stuff, but you know, make your plan, because as I said before, the one thing that just burns me up, the thing that just tears me apart on the inside, is to have a hole in something and not have something in it, or to have drilled the wrong hole. That just, oh, it just burns me up on the inside. But anyway, I think we covered everything. The electrical is now done. Where do we go from here? The next video is going to be the floor covering. So that video will be coming up next. Look for a little link for it right here. If the link's not popping up, the video's not there. But you know, the best way to see it, if there's no link, is to subscribe. YouTube, as always, I appreciate you coming by the shop. Be sure to rate and comment and share, and ride safe, handle your business, save some money, and